Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. Here we are for this 15th class on bṛhadāraṇyaka-upaniṣad from Shukla Yajurveda. We have been taking selected mantras from different parts of the Upanishad's 6 chapters. In each chapter, there are a number of sections which are called Brahmanas. In the last class, 14th session, we had considered the Brahmana 23 of the fourth, rather Brahmana 4, wait a minute. Yes, Brahmana 4 and Mantra 23 of the fourth chapter, 4.4.23. And the portion within that mantra that we had dwelt upon talked of the well-known Shatka Sampatti, Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha and Samadhana. They were brought in by sage Yajnavalkya speaking to King Janaka, and these words were expressed in the form of adjectives. It was said Shantaha, which is adjective for someone who has Shama, control or restraint of Indriyas. Dantaha, the adjective form of Damaha, restraint of Antakarana. As we said, some places Dama can be Indriya Sanyama, Shama can be Manas Sanyama. Both are valid. So, Shantaha, Dantaha, Uparataha, Titikshuhu, Samahitaha. And another version of the Upanishad, Shraddhavittaha. Thus, we have 6 qualities. When they are in rich measure in our bosom, then life itself changes. But here the context is we are prepared for the awakening. Lots of people study Vedanta these days. Hardly anyone is awakened because they are lacking in one of these 6 attributes. This session, we are in the same mantra, 4.4.23, 4th chapter, 4th Brahmana and 23rd mantra, but we are seeing a shloka. It is in the form of a shloka. It's a mantra being from the Vedas, but the structure is like a nice shloka with 4 quarters. Introducing that verse, the 23rd mantra begins, Tadetad richa abhyuktam. This is Yajurveda, but going by certain other considerations of metrical structure, the 4-liner is called a rik. Rik doesn't have to be from Rigveda only. Rik is a Veda mantra of a certain structure. So we get this Rik or Richaha in other Vedas also. Yajnavalkya says, referring to the awakened state, the awakened being has a totally different story to tell. Tadetad richa abhyuktam. It is stated here, and Yajnavalkya probably quotes from some other portion of the Vedas. But the moment it has come here, it is itself a valid Vedic mantra. So we are going to see that, but a couple of remarks before we enter the four-liner, which has the structure of a shloka. We are in this session trying to appreciate the state of being of an illumined person. As late as last century, we had Sri Ramana Maharshi, who was an excellent example of someone anchored in this awakened state. There must be many others, and perhaps there were and are illumined beings in the world at many places. I don't tend to be too orthodox, saying only those who study Upanishads have a chance to get realized and so on. As we know, Ramana himself did not study in that particular life, 1879 to 1950, the 71 years he lived being known as Ramana Maharshi. He did not study the Upanishads or Shankara Bhashya first. So we explain his awakening at the young age of 17 as the continuation of Purva Sanskara. He must have studied Vedanta in a previous life. So if somebody in Africa or Japan, in Australia or Papua New Guinea, somewhere one gets enlightened, same explanation will hold. There is no contradiction that on one hand we say Upanishad Gamya, it is to be known through Upanishad. On the other, there is somebody who has not even heard the name Upanishad has got enlightened. So we say that person in a previous life must have listened to the essential Upanishad. Doesn't have to be in Sanskrit or doesn't have to be according to the way we have studied. But essentially that wisdom, Aptavakya, some enlightened being has handed over the baton or the baton to this person. In the previous life, the Upadesha might have taken place. In the present life, one just gets an insight and is set free. All right. The topic presently is that awakened state. Lord Sri Krishna talks a lot on it in the Bhagavad Gita. He talks about how someone sees akarma in karma and karma in akarma in the 4th chapter. He talks about Jnanagnihi sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. All the work, and when we say work, the results of work, karma and karma phala, they're all turned to ashes. Karma does not bind somebody who is awakened. Karma and karma phala are extremely difficult to escape from as long as we are in avidya bhumi, in the frame of reference of spiritual ignorance. But when we wake up, the whole matter changes. There are many quotations that we can come out with, drawing from Gita, but one of my favorites is in the 18th chapter, Sri Krishna says, once someone is not operating as an ego center, then whatever action one performs, she or he, does not bind her or him. Yasya nahankrato bhavaha buddhir yasya na lipyate hatvapi sa iman loka nahanti na nibadhyate, says Sri Krishna. In a manner of saying, he says, even if he goes and kills lots of people, hatva loka, she injures, damages, dismantles, pulls down structures. If she is free of the ego process, na hanti, na badhyate, is neither bound nor is answerable for those actions. Looks like an outrageous statement. In no way it gives sanction to kill and hurt, but it's a powerful way of communicating. Lastly, before we enter the mantra, in Maharshi Ramana's works, especially in Saddharshanam, we have shlokas which talk about freedom from the clutches of karma. One of the beautiful shlokas over there is Karomi karmeti naro vijanan badhyo bhavet karma phalancha bhuktum vichara dhuta hradi kartrata chet karmatrayam nashyati saiva muktihi. Karmatrayam, prarabdha karma, sanchita karma, agami karma, karmatrayam nashyati sa eva muktihi. How does that happen? Maharshi Ramana talks about those two planes. On the lower plane, no matter how scholarly we might be, karomi karma iti, we think we are doing. I am doing, I am studying, I am remembering, I am forgetting, I am eating, I am drinking. In numerous ways, kartritva bhavana is there. Karomi karmeti naraha vijanan badhyaha bhavet. He or she becomes answerable. Karma phalam cha bhoktum, to enjoy or suffer the results. And so crisp and so much to the point, in the third quarter of that shloka, in Saddharshanam, Maharshi says, Vichara dhuta yadi kartrita chet. If our doership is destroyed, is put aside, how? By vichara. We have for long been sponsoring, supporting, funding this ego process. I did, when the mind says, we hastily say, of course I did. So I did, I am doing, I will do, are repeatedly reinforced. Instead, take a little time off and inquire who did, who is doing, who will do. That is vichara. Karmatrayam nashyati. So, though it is said nashyati, what is meant is one is above the plane of karma and karma phala. With this, let us enter the mantra and see how Adi Shankara gives some very good explanations on this. We shall see first the title slide, where we have especially highlighted how in the egoistic living, we all the time rise or fall, but in this awakened state, we would not see either a rise that is getting better and so on, or in the context of karma, enjoying the results of punya karma, that is rise. Nor do we experience fall in the context of karma, suffering the results of our bad karma. Punya and apunya, or punya and papa, loosen their hold upon us. Therefore, in the selected portion, which is a part only of the 23rd mantra, there again we have taken a very short piece. Na vardhate karmana. Na u karyan karmana. Karmana applies to both. Because of karma, one neither grows bigger, nor does one. Just a moment, there may be a signal problem. Normally, I keep the windows open, but it being rather cold these days in Himachal Pradesh, I kept all the windows closed, forgot. So now the signal should be more steady, probably. So, on the plane of karma, one is answerable. And when one rises above, so vardhate is reference to punya karma and enjoying, getting better, rising to a better status and so on. And na u kaniyan. Kaniyan is reducing or decreasing. When we have done papa, not only do we suffer in physical ways or from insult, injury, etc., but our very consciousness dips. Like stock values go up and come down, our consciousness gets narrowed. We get less perceptive. We get less creative. We get less sensitive. Many a time, when that consciousness shrinks, we are not even aware of the folly that we are committing. We are making blunders. People tell us also, hey, why are you doing this? We just brush them aside. Don't tell me, I know what I should do. Not aware that we are into a big blunder. All that is meant by kaniyan. Kaniyan means consciousness shrinking. Vardhate means consciousness expands. You get a better house, you get better salary, you move into a posh colony of a city in a developed country, blah, blah. That is all less important from a spiritual point of view. Inwardly, when your consciousness expands, you know it, you will know how light you feel, how energetic you feel, how loving you feel, and no one can hurt you also that time. When your consciousness has shrunk, every small thing will hurt you. When you have expanded consciousness, enhanced awareness, you take note of somebody making a nasty comment, but you will not be hurt. But this rise and fall, this up and down, are on a certain plane for the awakened one. Once for all, that rise and fall are over. I am tempted to quote maybe one last time from Saddarshanam. There's a punchline. Na pashyatam sat chalanam kadapi. The prose order would be for that. Sat pashyatam, for one who is seeing the truth, Brahman, kadapi chalanam na bhavati. There will never be any movement. That is, one does not feel rising or falling. Let's now take a look at the whole mantra. In fact, selected portion. The whole mantra continues after this. with what we saw in the last class. Tasmadevam vid shanto dantaha uparatastitikshuhu samahito bhutva atmanyevatmanam pashyati sarvam atmanam pashyati nainam patma tarati sarvam papmanam tarati. Up to there we had seen last time. The mantra actually goes further too. Let me not go into that. The 23rd mantra of the 4th Brahmana of the 4th chapter, in that sense, is a bit long, maybe 40 or 50 words. But last class we took a few words. Now we are taking this first portion after saying Tadeta Dricha Abhyuktam, Yajnavalkya quotes, Yesha Nityo Mahima Brahmanasya Navardhate Karmana No Kaniya Tasyaiva Syat Padavit Tam Viditva Nalipyate Karmana Papakena. It's pretty much like a structured four-liner stanza. Esha nityo mahima brahmanasya navardhate karmana no kaniya tasyaiva syat padavit tam viditva nalipyate karmana papakena. Like a shloka that we find in many other scriptures. So to quickly mention, we'll read the English translation after a minute. Brahmana here, as Adi Shankara also makes it clear, is someone who knows Brahman. Not by jati, not by profession, a priest in a temple or teacher of some Ved mantras, etc. Those are all secondary. Someone who knows Brahman, no matter to what family she is born, to what background he is born. Brahmanaha, Brahmajanati iti Brahmanaha. And in this selected portion also we took Navardhate Karmana no Kaniya. That's the second line. Tasya eva syat. Tasya eva syat. Padavit. So one who knows this pada about him, how does he know? By, Maharshi would say, by vichara. Elsewhere in traditional Vedanta, it is said, Upanishad Vakya Vichara. Contemplate on the Upanishadic statements. Tam viditva. Upon knowing it, na lipyate. Many of you are familiar with the second mantra of Ishavasya, where it is said, Na karma lipyate nare. Kurvan neveha karmani. Jiji vishe chatagam samaha. Evam tvainanyate tosti. Na karma lipyate nare. So, na lipyate is the repetition, is the resounding statement in the Vedas, in the Gita. Sri Krishna makes it more charming by bringing in the analogy of the lotus leaf. Brahmanyadaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate nasa papena padmapatram iva ambasa. Na lipyate comes in the Gita too. Let's see how Swami Madhavanandaji has translated it into English in the third mantra now. Third slide, I should say. In the third slide, we are going to see the translation in English. Yajnavalkya says, this fourth Brahmana is all Yajnavalkya speaking to Janaka, whereas the third Brahmana had other players too. So Yajnavalkya says, this is the eternal glory of a knower of Brahman. So Brahmana once more is a knower of Brahman. Could be lady or man and could be of any other family background. It neither increases nor decreases through work. The special focus is the implications of work done in the past or work being done now by this body and mind. And therefore, One should know the nature of that alone. The emphasis eva, tasya eva syad padavit. Pada is the state, and pada is that which is to be known, which is to be reached. Padam vetti iti padavit. Of what use is knowing something else? Somebody says, I went to the top of Everest and I saw with my own eyes. I stood on the top of peak of the Everest. Good, we appreciate your adventure and lot of congratulations. But does it make you truly free? What makes you free is knowing the nature of Brahma. Therefore, tasya eva padam vidyat. In that sense, the expression is made, tasya eva syad padavit. Then tam viditva, knowing it, one is not touched by evil action. Actually, one is not touched by either evil or good. But generally, we are very concerned with the results of some foolish things we had done in the past. Now let's see how Adi Shankara very patiently explains every bit of this selected portion. Yeshaha, it begins, right? The verse, like shloka like structure. Yesha nityaha mahima. Now, in a hurry, you may say, this is the eternal glory of Brahman. But more appropriately in the present context, this is the glory of a man or lady who knows Brahman. Brahmanasya mahima. Finally, it's one and the same because Brahma with Brahma eva bhavati. One who knows Brahma is oneself Brahma. But otherwise, there is a distinction in language. To say Brahma is great is wonderful. To say one who knows Brahma is great. One who knows Brahma does not experience rise or fall. Okay, what is that glory? Na iti adi lakshana. That glory is arrived at by an incessant dismissal of the attributes which really do not apply to Brahman. Go on negating. In Vakya Vritti, a work attributed to Adi Shankara, the expression used is atad vyavritti. Tad means what Brahma is or what you are. Atad means what Brahman is not, what you are not. Atad. Vyavritti. Dismiss it. Don't allow it to hold you hostage. Let go. Let go. Drop it. Drop it. Vedanta shakes hands with Buddhism at places. There's a well-known Zen story. A disciple has been very devotedly studying and serving his teacher. And the teacher was at times hard and harsh. On a certain day, the teacher suddenly says to the disciple, though there is a lot of water at home, go get 2 buckets of water. And the disciple has been told, never question. So though the disciple sees there is plenty of water at home stored in many buckets and other vessels, I am asked to get 2 buckets of water, 2 pots of water. So he goes to a nearby river and carries 2 heavy pots of water, brings them to the teacher's cottage. And the Zen story has something like this. The teacher, upon sighting the disciple at the gate, a little wicket gate of his cottage, shouts at him, "Drop it!" And the student immediately drops one pot, earthen pot, it falls and breaks. And the teacher shouts, "Drop it!" So the disciple drops the second pot also. That also breaks all the water on the grounds. Now the teacher again says, "Drop it." What is there to drop? Both the hands are empty. But Zen stories are like that. The story ends with a single statement. The disciple got enlightened. When you and I read that story, we don't get enlightened. We get confused. Huh? Third time when the Guru said, "Drop it," there was nothing in the hands of the disciple to drop, and yet the story says he got enlightened. Sometimes there are some footnotes which explain the disciple had been trained, had been exposed to the wisdom. So the disciple had undergone a certain refinement, broadening of his outlooks. So when third time the Guru said, "Drop it," for a moment the disciple was taken aback. But then in the light of the teachings, therefore we say anubhava. Anu means following. Following, you are listening to Vedanta. Anu, following. Bhava, bhavati. There takes place a certain dramatic change in your understanding. So the disciple, after having dropped the first bucket, after having dropped the second pot, now having nothing in his hands, when he hears "drop it," he drops the idea of his being the doer. I brought water. I dropped the pots. I am now wondering. I am now clear. Whatever that I is dropped. That is neti. Neti neti adi lakshanaha nityo mahima. What about other glories? I already said going to the peak of the Everest. Anyetu mahimanaha karma kritaha. Karma kritaha anye mahimanaha. In Sanskrit, mahima is a masculine word. In Hindi and many other languages, it could be feminine. Girls are named Mahima. But in Sanskrit, Mahima is Mahiman Shabda, like Atma. Atma, Atmano, Atmanaha. Mahima, Mahimano, Mahimanaha. Karma Krita. They are all made by karma. So what is got by karma will eventually decay. The finite can never take you to the infinite. Karma kritaha iti anityaha ayam tu, this wisdom of Brahman, tad vilakshanaha, stands apart. Tebhyaha vilakshanaha. As compared with all other glories, this stands apart. Why? This is not got by doing anything. Swabhavikatvat. It is your own true nature. So it's yours for the keeps. It will always be with you. Nityaha Brahmavidaha. Who is a Brahmana? Brahmavit is a Brahmana. Brahmavidaha Brahmanasya. And that knowledge of Brahman expresses as saying goodbye to so many long-standing desires. Sarva Eshanasya. Eshana is the desire. Pursuit of wealth, pursuit of students, disciples, sons, pursuit of higher lokas or popularity. Vittaishana, Putraishana, Lokaishana. These words are introduced in this bṛhadāraṇyaka-upaniṣad itself. Kutaha asya nityatvam? If somebody asks, but why should this glory be eternal, timeless? Or in what way do you say it is so extraordinary, because all other glory is result of karma and therefore is finite. It rises, it comes, it begins at some point, ends at another point. But this one, karmana na vardhate. Shubhalakṣanena kritena buddhilakṣanam vikriyam na prapnoti. Kritena, by work we have done, which are of the nature of merit, meritorious works, vriddhi lakshana. If you do a lot of good work, nowadays Prime Minister Modi has started a very interesting new practice. In olden days, it was all well-placed people, brilliant people who have traveled abroad, who have got degrees in foreign universities, or who have written big books. So it was intellectuals or celebrities in various fields. Now, Padma Shri, etc., is given to people who we have never heard of. In some distant village, some old woman has planted tens of thousands of trees. She is given. Wonderful. So unknown people of all kinds of caste and community and background. And as they come to receive the Padma Shri from the President of India, we see the video, and those people don't look impressive at all. Some of them need even help to walk. Some of them don't even dress properly. Some tribal community, and that dress seems inadequate to people like us who are raised in cities. It's all our perception problem. They are fine. They are happy with that dress. So that is vriddhi. I got Padma Shri. And some other time, if we do bad work, we go down. We rise in the eyes of the society by getting some award. We fall in the eyes of the society. Ashubhena karmana no kaniyan. No is made of na plus u. It is not naha. If it were naha, it won't become no when kaniyan is the next word. That's grammar. Na u. Not at all reduction. One doesn't reduce. And that is called, if the earlier one was vriddhi, now it is apakshaya. Vriddhi is growing bigger, apakshaya is shrinking. Apakshaya lakshanam vikriyam. These are all vikriyas, vikaras. Asti jayate vardate viparinamate apakshiyate nashyati. 6 vikaras are talked about. Shad vikaras. So, one who is seeing Brahma does not experience any rise or fall in him. उपचय-अपचय हेतु भूताः एव हि सर्वा विक्रियाः इति एताभ्याम प्रतिषिध्यन्ते. By these two, etabhyam two, by these two expressions, na vardhate, no kaniyan. By these two expressions, all kinds of upachaya, putting on, like we talk about, somebody put on 10 kgs in 2 months, and somebody in 2 months dropped, shed pounds, 10 kgs or 16, whatever, no, not 16, so many pounds. So kgs or pounds somebody sheds, that is apakshaya or apachaya. Upachaya-apachaya hetu bhutaha eva hi sarvaha vikriyaha iti etabhyam pratishidyante. Therefore, by mentioning two, na vardhate, no kaniyan, all the vikaras are dismissed. Ataha avikriya tvat. Avikriya is being free from modification, and the abstract noun for that is avikriyatvam. And avikriyatvat nityaha eshaha mahima. In the last part of the Bhashya, now Adi Shankara will say, Tasmat tasyaiva mahimnaha syat padavit padasya vetta. Padam vetti iti padavit. If you know economics, then we would call you Arthashastra with. With means vetti, knower. If you know Hindi language, Hindi bhasha with. Here, padavit, one who knows the pada of that glory, the state, the truth of that awakened state. How can the word pada mean that truth? Shankara gives the etymology. Padyate. Pad means to walk and reach. Even the word pada, pada, padachari comes from that pad. Pad is to attain. So something that is attained, gamyate, that is reached, and in this context it's not physical travel, jnayate, it is a matter of knowing. Padyate gamyate jnayate iti mahimnaha swarupameva padam. The inner essence of that awakened state is the pada. Tasya padasya vetta syat. That is worth it. Be a knower of that truth rather than achieving anything else in life. So it is said, Tasya padasya vedita. Padavit is padavedita. Kim tat padavedanena syad ityuchyate. All right, suppose I come to know that supreme truth. So what? Kim syat. What? The Acharya explains, Tham viditva, if you were to know that Supreme Brahman, na lipyate, na sambadhyate. In your present process of egoism, ego process living, there is no day which is free from some regrets and some pride here and there, some worry about what will happen tomorrow. That is all called karma lepa. Na lipyate, na sambadhyate, karmana, especially papakena. About the wrongs we have done, we get worried. Will I be punished? Or in this life, if I am not punished, nobody comes to know, or people ignore, people have better things to do than punish you for what you did. They mind their business. Is there some divine law where after my death I will suffer? Probably by going to hell or some such place. Or maybe in my next life, will I be born without eyes or ears, without some mental normalcy, etc. As a result of my past karma, there is fear. Knowing Brahma completely frees you. Na karmana papakena lipyate. Dharma adharma lakshanena. Acharya Shankara now opens it fully. It's not necessarily just papa karma. Neither papa karma nor punya karma can affect you anymore. Ubhayam api papakameva vidushaha. A truly wise person considers both punya and papa as papa only, because both of them bind. As the popular example goes, papa karma is like a cage, panjara, a cage made of iron or wood. Punya karma is like a cage made of gold. So gold cage or iron cage, cage is a cage. Therefore, dharma, dharma, both are not desirable for that advanced spiritual seeker. Yasmadevam, it being so, because it is so, akarma sambandhi esha brahmanasya mahima neti netyadi lakshanaha. So the higher plane is marked by the knower of Brahman being in a state which has nothing to do with karma. Karma sambandhi means having to do with karma. Akarma sambandhi means not having to do with karma. Anybody talks of wrongs done by this person, lady or man, Anybody mentions the glorious things done by this person, lady or man, who cares? One is above. In your dream, you served a lot of people, or on another night, in your dream, you went around and caused misery to a lot of people. But when you wake up from your dream, neither the good things you did nor the bad things you did have any meaning whatsoever. You are completely free. In this way, in summary, this mantra, which is expressed as a four-liner, has this to tell us: awaken, wake up, and once for all be free from this karma, vikarma, satkarma, dushkarma, and then the phala of all of them. Wake up from this dreamy field of karma. Only when there is ego, you will be in this field. Erase the ego and be free forever. Absolutely. This is the meaning of this short piece. I especially chose this for during my studies. I have seen this particular line. Na vardhate no kaniyan. Na vardhate karmana no kaniyan. This particular line has been quoted by Adi Shankara at a number of places through his commentaries on 10 Upanishads and on Brahma Sutras and on Bhagavad Gita, what we call the Prasthanatraya. Bhashyeshu idam vakyam bahudha udahritam. It has been quoted, it has been referred to. I have come across that so much. So I said this needs to be highlighted in a class. Therefore, this session was about na vardhate karmana no kaniya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.